Hello and welcome. Tonight, federal government meets with leaders of National Association of Resident Doctors to resolve issues responsible for industrial action of doctors. Minister of Health Dr. Osage Yanire appeals to striking doctors to return to work as their concerns are being sorted out. President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurates steering committee for Nigeria's new development plan, which is expected to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty by the year 2030, and fires destroy largest migrant camp in Greece, leaving nearly 13,000 people without shelter. Plus business, sports, and later from our studios in London.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's total public debt climbs further to 31 trillion naira as at June the 30th this year.
On sports news tonight, Super Eagles midfielder Ogene Karo-Etebo joins Galatasaray FC on a season-long loan from Stoke City.
We begin in the health sector. After a meeting between the federal government and the National Association of Resident Doctors (NARD) that lasted almost a whole day, there is still no indication as to when the doctors will call off their industrial action. Both sides had been locked in negotiations today to resolve the issues that led to the declaration of a nationwide strike on Monday. At the resumption of the conciliatory meeting in Abuja, the federal government's team described the doctors' strike as unwarranted, illegal, and a ploy to discredit the government.
On Monday, September the 7th, members of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors declared a nationwide industrial action to protest against the non-payment of their COVID-19 hazard allowance, the non-funding of their residency training program, as well as outstanding arrears of salaries.
To talk before we sign.
This meeting with the federal government's negotiating team is at the instance of the Minister of Labour and Employment, who is the conciliator.
Thank you, sir.
In their separate remarks, both the Minister of State for Health and the Minister of Labour and Employment described the strike as unwarranted, ill-timed, and a ploy to discredit the federal government.
It is painful, especially to some of us who are medical doctors, that while efforts are being made to make sure that the ship of state is afloat, especially in the medical industry with the pandemic, people are going on strike. And the only conclusion somebody outside there would take, logical conclusion, is that people are acting under script. You are acting under script to badmouth this government. You called on all health workers to down tools. That is bad. Every effort is being made, even from the highest authority of the land. And that's Mr. President. Mr. President is very, very cognizant of the need to give the best to health workers generally. But we must not push ourselves too far. There is no right that is absolute. Every right is qualified.
After those remarks by the two ministers, it appears the industrial action should not have come up in the first place.
Let me, on behalf of the enemy president, apologize again profusely on behalf of the NAT president, our younger colleagues. Sometimes it is due to the tension we receive, especially when the ultimate happens, when we lose a colleague in the front line.
The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors declared a nationwide strike on Monday, insisting that its members will only get back to work when their demands are met. The government, however, says 6 out of the 8 demands, which include the payment of special hazard allowance, provision of personal protective equipment, and group life insurance, have already been met. As it is, the ball is now in the court of the doctors, who are expected to suspend the strike after holding their Executive Council meeting.
And as the negotiations between the federal government and the National Association of Resident Doctors continue, The Minister of Health, Dr. Sage Anire, is appealing to the doctors to return to work in the nation's overall interest. According to the minister, who was on our COVID-19 program earlier in the day, a lot can be achieved if both parties embrace dialogue.
We are propagating the idea that they should return to work while that negotiation goes on, so that they don't allow people to suffer. They don't run the risk of having people lose their lives in the course of trying to fight for their rights or fight for the payment. That can always be done. We're on their side. We are advocating on various fronts. So at the time they will get the money, I do not know exactly. I spoke with the Minister of Finance today, and she has assured us that she will be ready to cooperate with us as soon as all these issues are aligned. But up till the first 3 months have been paid of the hazard allowance up to June. The rest of it is subject to negotiation, which will be done today.
On the COVID-19 vaccine from Russia, Dr. Ehanire says what the country's ambassador did was to present a snapshot of the vaccine production processes to the federal government.
The vaccines are not yet out for distribution. They are still being tested. And there's no country that's actually applying them yet. The Nigeria, we have a responsibility here as Minister of Health to ensure that Nigerians are able to have access to those vaccines when they eventually become available. So the Russian ambassador came to give us just an idea of what they are doing. They submitted and did a memoir that told us how far they had gone with testing their vaccines, the tests they have done. They are already in phase 3 tests. And we also had them have a conversation with our experts here, advisors, Professor Tomori and the director of the Institute of Nigerian Medical Research, and also the chair of the Nigerian Bio-Vaccine Limited, who also asked questions as to the possibility of licensing for production here, or collaboration, technical collaboration with the Russians.
From health to security matters now, the Army has come out with an explanation of the circumstances surrounding the killing of the militia leader Tewase Akwaza, also known as Ghana, by troops yesterday. The commander of the 4th Special Forces Command in Doma, Nasarawa State, Major General Munde Ali, claims that troops received strategic information on Ghana's movement along the Bishe-Boko-Makurdi Road, and the notorious bandit was killed in a shootout. According to the general, AK-47 rifles, Dane guns, Browning pistols, and several ammunition was recovered, while 40 of Ghana's men have been captured.
Here lies the terrorists that have been terrorizing the entire northern region of the North Central and have made it untenable for peace-loving Nigerians of Benue and Taraba extractions to live in peace. Troops on Operation I Am Apotma 3 moved swiftly and mounted snap roadblocks along routes. At 1300 hours, there was a meeting engagement with the convoy of the dreaded bandit, aka Ghana, as is known. A shootout ensued, and he was killed. In addition, 40 of Ghana's men have been captured in the operation and are currently under custody. They will soon be handed over to the civil authority for prosecutions.
However, Governor Samuel Otom of Benue State is obviously not satisfied with the Special Forces' version of events and is demanding an explanation from the military hierarchy on the circumstances leading to the death of Mr. Tewase Akwaza. The militia leader was reportedly seized from the official vehicle of the chairman of Katsina Ala local government in a convoy while on his way to accept the second amnesty approved by the State Security Council. The governor made this demand today in Makurdi at a press conference.
You are all aware of that. I had to reach out to the commander of that special forces and he confirmed to me, and I told him I was surprised and I needed an explanation. I was surprised at what took place. I don't want to join issues with security agencies, but at the same time I have the responsibility to protect lives and property. And I have to build the confidence of the people. I want to appeal to Benue people. I want to appeal to Sankara people, not to be deterred, to remain calm until we get to the root of what took place. I work with security agencies. I don't believe in militia activities. I don't have talks. I use the conventional security apparatus. It was not my decision to grant this amnesty. First of all, it came from the people themselves, pleading that amnesty should be granted to these people. And I informed the Security Council, and they consented, they accepted. So, by the time I hear from the commandant of the Special Forces, I will now relay this to the Security Council, and I think we will know the next step to take. But the amnesty program is not truncated, it is ongoing.
Staying with the killing of the militia leader and on the heels of the death of the wanted militia leader, the lawmaker representing Benue East Senatorial District, Senator Gabriel Soswam, has described the action of the military as extrajudicial killing. According to the senator, Soswam, the military seems not to have learned from the lessons of the Boko Haram escalation after a similar murder of its leader. The lawmaker, who voiced out his frustration in a statement, pointed out that the information extracted from a living Ghana would have helped security agents get to the root of activities of the criminals. He explained that the surrender of Ghana and his gang members followed long and painstaking negotiations involving traditional rulers, the clergy, politicians, aimed at restoring peace. The senator says, while I have been consistent in condemning the reign of terror he unleashed on his community, I cannot in good conscience, as a lawyer of over 3 decades and a senior parliamentarian, accept cold-blooded extrajudicial murder of an unarmed person as a solution to our security problems. Away from the Ghana killing to the oil and gas industry, it's also expected to play a significant part in developmental plans. And now the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Mr. Mele Kyari, has announced a significant oil find in the Benue Cho, the Chad Basin, and the Anambra platform. On our program Politics Today, he explained that the major oil finds will substantially boost the nation's oil reserves and revenue.
We have found significant oil in the Benue Trop. There are potentials for finding oil in other basins of the country, in the Chad Basin and the Anambra platform. And that will add to our reserves. The target of reserve will be met, and ultimately, product will become easier to and within easy reach of consumers. And that situation is completely very pleasant, and I'm sure that at the right time we'll make the appropriate announcement on the basis of the law. On the best of it, and I can confirm to you that we have found significant oil in the Benue Trop.
The NNPC is targeting 3 years for the completion of rebuilding pipelines for the transportation of petroleum across the country. During a meeting with the management of the Bureau of Public Procurement, the NNPC Group Managing Director, Mele Kyari, explained that the corporation is adopting a build and operate strategy for the replacement of the pipelines.
According to the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, there are over 5,000 kilometers of pipeline across the country for conveying petroleum products. However, less than 500 kilometers of these pipelines are functional as a result of articulated vehicles becoming the available option for conveying the product. The Bureau for Public Procurement is mandated to review road construction procurement, and their concern at this meeting with the management of the NNPC is the impact of trucks conveying petroleum products on the nation's roads.
They were meant to keep trucks off our roads, but trucks are very much on our roads today. and creating havoc across the country. Is there any way we can revive these pipelines again?
We started a will operate and transfer process. We have seen significant interest from investors across the world, and I can assure you, DG, not very far from today, our target is probably 2 years, maximum 3 years, to replace these lines. But we know that the process that we have started today will deliver on this, and that's the only way to go around while we are doing remedial works to maintain the lines and to improve on the security architecture, which is getting some level of support.
The meeting afforded the BPP management the opportunity to clear the air on allegations of discrepancies in the Ajaokuta Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline project.
We saw that they picked the information from somewhere else and used it in a manner that was meant to hurt what NNPC did. But I think we are on top of the situation. We have our documents intact, and it's available for scrutiny by whoever may be interested.
The pipeline, which is a section of the Trans-Nigeria gas pipeline, has the capacity to transport about 2.2 billion cubic feet of gas per day, and it's expected to be completed by 2022.
The goal of taking 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years is one of the cardinal objectives of the Buhari administration. And to ensure this, President Muhammadu Buhari has inaugurated a national steering committee to oversee the development of the Nigeria Agenda 2050 and the medium-term National Development Plan. The plans are built to succeed Vision 2020 and the Economic Growth and Recovery Plan 2017 to 2020, and, according to the President, to ensure continuity and efficiency in development planning. State House correspondent Kayla Megwa reports.
Over the years, Nigeria has seen its fair share of developmental policies. Most recently is the Vision 2020 and the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, which both expire by December of 2020. The jury is still out on how effective these plans have been, but the president has created a successive development plan aimed at lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty by 2030.
The National Steering Committee is to be jointly chaired by Mr. Atedo Peter Said and Dr. Mrs. Zainab S. Ahmed, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning. The National Steering Committee is to oversee governance structure comprising the Central Working Group and 26 technical working groups for this important national assignment.
The National Steering Committee is made up of representatives from political parties, captains of industries, labor organizations, youth organizations and women's societies, traditional and religious leaders, among others. The steering committee will oversee the execution of key deliverables, including recommending measures to ensure the continuous implementation of the plans, even after the expiration of the tenure of successive administrations.
Part of the problem in Nigeria was that, historically, of course, we're a much younger nation. Ideas that should have come to stay, that should have been embraced by the whole nation, somebody will come, throw it this way, the next person will come, turn it upside down, the next one will come, begin afresh. So we never got a chance to really cement and put some things down and build a national consensus of a type which nobody can get up again and say, oh, like in the UK, let's scrap national health. So those are the types of things we're looking for. The type of consensus on important things where you're involving all the major political parties that can transcend, and if everybody accepts them, you put those things behind you, and everybody takes them for granted. We've got an economy where everything is being debated every time. It's going nowhere.
This is yet another attempt at setting a medium to long-term developmental plan for the country. Nigerians will be watching closely to see how well the plan delivers on its promises. From the State House in Abuja, Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
To judicial matters now, a witness of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has explained how he allegedly collected 2 billion naira from an Abuja-based businessman involved in the trial of a former Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Mohammed Adoke. The witness, Mr. Farouk Suleiman, informed the court that he converted the money and handed over the equivalent of over $9 million to one barrister, Mustafa, on the instruction of the second defendant, Aliyu Abubakar. But under cross-examination by Abubakar's counsel, the witness, a bureau de change operator, could not establish a link between the second defendant and the said barrister Mustafa. At the instance of the prosecutor, the trial judge, Justice Iyangeko, adjourned further trial to September the 11th. To politics now. On the upcoming Edo governorship election, and the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Pastor Osage Izeyamu, says social welfare, infrastructure, and human capital development are some of the areas that will top his administration's priorities if elected into office. Pastor Izeyamu stated this during the APC governorship campaign rally across the wards of Ikpobaoka local government area of the state.
For the All Progressives Congress, the large turnout of these enthusiastic party supporters in Ikpobaoka local government area confirms the party's accessibility and renews its hope of winning the September 19 governorship election in the state. It is this hope that drives the party's governorship candidate, Pastor Osage Izeyamu, who promises to reciprocate the support, ensuring that his policies and programs benefit the people if voted into office.
So what was showing you that the empowerment program will what do? Many people go. Infrastructure, security, better school, teacher, we go do in Ikpobaoka.
The former APC National Chairman, Adam Sushomole, on his part, insists Pastor Izeyamu's well-documented manifesto, The Simple Agenda, is so far the best roadmap to the development of Edo State.
You don't walk around 192 ward. You sabi people across 192 ward. You see waiting day on ground. You see waiting no day on ground. Now you can write what he calls simple agenda. That document, no be me rata. Na he rata. But when I read them, he shows say he know what the problem be. And he know how they go take fix am.
The day's rally is supported with the presence of the former governor of Kano State, Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, who sensitizes the people on how to make their votes count.
Take your time to identify where the broom is and vote. Every vote matters. We need every vote. APC needs every vote. So if you want to bring the desired change, vote APC.
With election day drawing nearer, the APC says it is confident of victory, even as it promises to take Edo State to the next level of development.
Meanwhile, the women's wing of the PDP campaign council is asking the electorate to make the right choice in the September 19th Edo governorship election by choosing the Obaseki Shaibu ticket over others. The wife of the state governor, Mrs. Betsy Obaseki, who led the rallies in Edo North, said the Obaseki Shaibu ticket will guarantee a better future if given the mandate to continue in office.
It's a roadshow for the PDP Women Campaign Council. The coverage of Edo North starts from Akoko Edo local government area. Wives of the governorship candidates Betsy Obaseki and Marianne Shoaibu lead the way, rousing the gathering with PDP campaign songs. The speeches from the PDP women leaders, just like the songs, clamor for votes for Governor Godwin Obaseki and his deputy as Edo decides on September 19th. In her address, Mrs. Schreiber appreciates the women for their support, noting that the present administration has surpassed predecessors in terms of achievements.
By the grace of God, now thank you. Now we will do our birthday on the 19th. Now thank you. We get government where we get peace of mind. We get peace. We get happy. Our children, primary one, you don't begin to Sabia to read and write.
The encomiums continue with the wife of the Edo State Governor, Mrs. Betsy Obaseki, vouching for the integrity of her husband and his running mate.
Many people they go from self-election. They want power. They take benefit themselves. They take quick money, take top money for themselves and their family and their few friends. They don't care about you now. They don't care about the people where they're supposed to serve. But when I see man like Obaseki and Shaibu, they don't care for themselves but for them people. Everything they want is not good for them people. Now the kind of politicians where we live for Nigeria now. Now the kind of politicians where the world they look for. Now they make the whole world now their eyes go for a go.
The PDP women team say they are confident of victory on election day, evident from the reception from supporters across the 6 local government areas in Edo North.
Nigeria's football legend Kanu Nwankwo has commended Simba TVS, distributors of the official motorcycle and tricycle of Super Eagles, for its commitment to customer service nationwide. A special guest at the inauguration of TVS workshop in Kano State, Kanu says that Nigeria's largest tricycle company has over the years been totally devoted to growing the business of its partners.
Dealers and other business associates at Simba TVS workshop, in addition to the various workshops operating across the country. As part of its corporate commitment to delivering quality service to its customers, the company is also flagging off the 2020 Northern Roadshow with Nigeria's ex-international Kanu Nwankwo as the special guest.
The newest service which you are showing us today is one of a kind, and the quality is very, very, very good. We don't need quantity, but we need quality. And when you want quality, you have to come to TVS and Simba. I think that they need TVS partnering with them, definitely have to support them to make sure that Nigerian Super Eagles keep flying. And for me, that is my part, and I love it, and I want them to keep doing it as often as they can.
Simba TVS, the official motorcycle and tricycle of the Super Eagles, is committed to promoting football as part of the company's corporate social responsibility.
We take pride and pleasure in sponsoring NFF, and the kind of Nigeria people are supporting football here. And it's real pleasure for us to support the football. We have been doing this for the last 4 years. And now what an honor to bring Mr. Kano, the legend himself, to Kano. So it's really pleasure getting associated with him, and the kind of love and affection we are getting by sponsoring this NFF. It's really a pleasure for us.
Founded in Nigeria in 1988, the Simba Group has its operations across the country. The conglomerate has investment in several sectors of the country's economy, which include agriculture, alternative energy, networking, and data transmission, among other services.
Those who require extraordinary internet speed to work and do business online now have what sounds like an irresistible offer from IPNX, a leading ICT company in Nigeria. The IT enabler is offering broadband speeds of 100 megabytes and 200 megabytes per second for homes and micro, small, and medium enterprises. During the launch in Lagos, the company's Divisional Chief Executive Officer, Kene Ene, told journalists that it lends credence to IPNX's reputation as the pace-setter in technological innovation.
FOS Extreme is another first from IPNX in its chain of broadband internet service. The introduction of Extreme 100 and Extreme 200 is for consumers who desire a higher speed of connection for multiple devices at the same time.
It is obvious at this time that internet access has become a way of life, and more consumers are in search of data plans and services that will enable everyone and every device get connected with optimum speed concurrently.
A test is conducted before guests to show how far FOX Extreme Internet Speed can go. With a 3-digit speed of at least 100 megabytes per second, FOS Extreme offers more power for customers to work, learn, create, as well as play online without any inhibitions.
The government of the country currently has a broadband plan that has a projections that by 2025, speed for broadband should be 25 Mbps. But we've stepped it a notch. Obviously, our strategic intention is to deliver products with boundless possibilities, which is why we've stepped it a notch, and we're now delivering speeds that is even 4 times that of what the broadband plan is, which is starting speed of 100 Mbps. So 100 Mbps means 3 digits, and that's where we are starting from. The extreme promise is to continually be at the top of the game when it comes to delivering the highest speed in Nigeria.
IPNX FOS Extreme is indeed the new way of life. Life, I can say, has moved to the internet. Everybody is living their lives on the internet. People are gaming. People are working online. Children are schooling online. Everything is happening online.
IPNX is a leading ICT company with 2 decades of experience in the industry, engaged in fixed, wired and wireless operations in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Kano and Ibadan.
And now for business news, here's Teniola Shobowale.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Olumide. Welcome to Business News. Nigeria's total public debt has risen further to a new high of 31 trillion naira, or $85.897 billion, as at June the 30th. According to latest data released today by the Debt Management Office, the amount includes the debt stock of the federal government, the 36 states, and the Federal Capital Territory. The latest increase is 2.381 trillion naira, or 8.3% higher than the 28.628 trillion naira, which it stood as at March the 31st this year. The DMO attributes the increase in the debt stock to $3.36 billion budget support loan from the International Monetary Fund, as well as the issuance of sukuk and promissory notes. Meanwhile, the debt office says the figure could rise further due to additional promissory notes expected to be issued in the course of the year and new borrowings by the state government. The federal government has asked a Milan court in Italy to order multinational oil giant Royal Dutch Shell and Eni to pay about $1.1 billion as damages for the corrupt purchase of the OPL 245 offshore field. The lawyer representing the Nigerian government, Lucia, who joined in requesting for the seizure of the amount, asked for advance payment ahead of a more comprehensive damages package to be decided by the court at a later date. The long-running corruption case involves the 2011 acquisition of Oil Block Prospecting license by ENI and Shell, following the payment of $1.3 billion to the Nigerian government for one of Africa's most valuable oil blocks. Trading activities at the local bourse remains downbeat for a third consecutive day in the week as more sell-off by investors push the NSE's main indicators lower by more than 0.25%. Ekaite Afia has the details.
Thank you for joining us for the Stock Market Report. Investor sentiment towards the equities market remains negative for a third consecutive day, but this time sell pressure was more intense across 4 sectors of the NSE. But the main reason for the continued downturn is the banking sector. The sub-index dropped further by 1.54% today, and this is largely attributed to the losses by UBA, Access, Zenith Bank, FBN Holdings, and ETI. Now, as a result, the NSE's benchmark index fell by an additional 0.28% to around 25,424 points, while about 38 billion naira is knocked off from the market's overall value. Now, the major equity in focus is Zenith Bank, as it has maintained a steady decline after hitting the 17 naira price value last week. And this is because investors who bought its shares at a lower rate are now exiting their position ahead of its dividend payment date later this month. However, the bank shares holds the #1 spot on the top trades list, while the total volume and value of transactions increased by 8.40% and 42% each. Although today's trading session was lackluster, traders say they are hopeful that investors will take advantage of the lower price of some fundamentally sound stocks, which is expected to lift the market in the upcoming session. Well, that's all for the Stock Market Report. I'm Akaite Afia.
And that's Business News Tonight. It's back to you, Olumide.
Welcome back. Greece's largest migrant camp, the Moria facility on the island of Lesbos, has been consumed by fire. It's still unclear how the fire began, but migrants and locals blame each other. Thousands of people are now without accommodation, and authorities are struggling to find them shelter. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A fire has almost completely destroyed Moria, Greece's largest refugee camp, burning tents and forcing people to evacuate from the overcrowded facility on the island of Lesbos. About 25 firefighters with 10 engines have been battling the flames. Some refugees have suffered injuries from smoke exposure. It is unclear how the fire began, with some blaming refugees and others blaming Greek locals. The fire has left thousands without accommodation, and authorities have been struggling to find shelter. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas has called the blaze a humanitarian disaster.
The camp burned yesterday, and all of the refugees ran away from the fire. And it was a really big fire, and almost all the camp burned. And we don't know where to go, and all the refugees are outside and try to find a place to just at least stay.
The US has announced it will withdraw more than a third of its troops from Iraq within weeks. The troop presence will be reduced from about 5,200 to 3,000 during September. That's according to top Middle Eastern Commander General Kenneth McKenzie. Those remaining will continue to advise and assist Iraqi security forces in rooting out the final remnants of the jihadist group Islamic State. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has been nominated for the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize.
We have spent the last 4 years...
Norwegian far-right politician Christian Tybring-Gjedde made the nomination following a historic peace agreement between the United Arab Emirates and Israel. The leader also praised Trump for resolving other protracted conflicts worldwide and said he has made tremendous efforts in brokering peace. Final clinical trials for a coronavirus vaccine developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University have been put on hold after a participant had a suspected adverse reaction in the UK. AstraZeneca has described it as a routine pause in the case of an unexplained illness. The outcome of vaccine trials is being closely watched around the world. The AstraZeneca Oxford University vaccine is seen as a strong contender among dozens being developed globally. At least 10 people have been killed in a roadside bomb attack in the Afghan capital of Kabul that targeted the first vice president, Amrullah Saleh. Saleh, a former head of the Afghan intelligence services, escaped with slight burns on his face and hands. The bombing comes as Afghan officials and the Taliban were preparing to begin their first formal talks. A Taliban spokesman has said that the militant group was not responsible for the blast. The UN has said that more than 40 of its staff and their dependents have caught coronavirus in Syria, amid warnings that the pandemic is far more widespread than authorities there have acknowledged. Since the start of the pandemic, Syria has officially recorded 137 deaths in government-controlled areas, but the country's healthcare system is in ruins after 9 years of war, and the government recently admitted it cannot carry out large-scale testing. One of the last remaining high-profile opposition figures in Belarus, Maxim Znak, has been detained by masked men. That's according to his supporters. Znak, a lawyer and member of the Opposition Coordination Council, failed to show up for a scheduled video meeting on Wednesday morning. Witnesses have reported that he was seen being led down a street in the capital Minsk by masked men in plain clothes. It comes after the recent detention of several other opposition figures in Belarus. Party members and workers of North Korea's capital Pyongyang have held a mass rally ahead of their departure to areas hit by the most recent typhoon. The isolated country has borne the brunt of Typhoon Mayask and Bavi, followed by Typhoon Haishen this week. It comes after North Korea was already struggling with heavy rains and floods in one of the wettest rainy seasons on record. Leader Kim Jong-un has stressed the need to restore infrastructure by October the 10th, an important day that celebrates the founding of the Workers' Party. In Senegal, many areas have continued to struggle days after a 7-hour downpour caused widespread floods. This footage in Keur Masseur, a town just east of the capital Dakar, shows cars partly submerged and residents in stagnant floodwaters. Heavy rains have been recorded in the Sahel regions of West and Central Africa in the past week, including in Niger, Chad and Cameroon, leading to devastating floods that have killed dozens and displaced thousands of people. And finally, the long-running TV reality show about the Kardashian family is coming to an end. That's according to a tweet by Kim Kardashian West. The show has run for 14 years and made global megastars of Kim, her siblings, their parents, partners and children. Kim tweeted, "It is with heavy hearts that we've made the difficult decision as a family to say goodbye to keeping up with the Kardashians. The 21st and final season will air in early 2021. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. And now it's time for sports news. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Olumide. Super Eagles midfielder Ogene Karo Etebo has joined Turkish giants Galatasaray Football Club on a season-long loan from Stoke City. It will be his second loan spell away from Stoke after spending the second half of last season on loan at Spanish side Getafe. Etebo's contract at Stoke runs until 2023. Serena Williams has survived an early scare to stay on course for a record equaling 24th major after coming from behind to beat Svetlana Pironkova in their quarterfinal clash. Serena dropped the first set 6-4 but staged a stellar comeback to win the next 2 sets to reach the semi-finals for the 14th time in her career. She will next face either Victoria Azarenka or 16th seed Ellis Martins for a place in the championship decider at the US Open. IOC President Thomas Bach says his organization is committed to delivering a safe Tokyo 2020 Olympics and still retains the full support of the Japanese government despite the resignation of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. The Tokyo Olympics was postponed to next year in an unprecedented decision as the COVID-19 pandemic swept across the globe.
Social distancing is under consideration. Many other questions. We are also following very closely what's happening with the development of rapid testing and developments of vaccination and vaccines, because also this could have an effect and could facilitate then the preparations.
In golf, Brooks Koepka has withdrawn from the US Open, which is teeing off next Thursday. Koepka has struggled with a left knee injury, which saw him sidelined for 3 months last season. The world number 8 also needed on-course treatment to his hip during his title defense at the US PGA Championship in San Francisco last month. Koepka won the US Open in 2017 and successfully defended his title at Shinnecock Hills. He was runner-up to Gary Woodland at Pebble Beach last year. Sergio Perez will leave Racing Point at the end of the season, paving the way for Sebastian Vettel to join from Ferrari. Now, Vettel's arrival has not been confirmed, but it is known that Racing Point, which will become Aston Martin in 2021, has offered him a contract. Racing Point had announced a 3-year extension for Perez in August 2019, but the availability of Vettel appears to have changed the team's plans. Perez played a key role in helping Racing Point, previously known as Force India, from going out of business in 2018. And that's Sports News. I'm Ayotunde Balogun.
Thank you, Ayo. And the main news again. The National Association of Resident Doctors NARD today said it would consult with its Executive Council within the next 24 hours with a view to calling off the strike by tomorrow, September 10th. This followed a meeting with the federal government to resolve the issues responsible for the doctors' strike. Also today, President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurated the Steering Committee for Nigeria's new development plan, which is expected to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty by the year 2030. And fire destroyed today the largest migrant camp in Greece, leaving nearly 13,000 people without shelter. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Olumide Macaulay. Do have a good night.